So I had the client bring this Triumph Spitfire to the shop. I don't usually work on British cars, but I have over the years, have some experience with them. This one came in for a clutch job, and we performed the clutch job, fixed some oil leaks on the engine, and went on a test drive. The test drive didn't go exactly like we had planned. Whenever we went to stop, the brakes went all the way to the floor, the caliper was locking up, so I couldn't return the car to the customer without going through and inspecting the brakes. So what you'll find on these cars, I mean, these things are pushing 50 years old now, and this particular car has original brake lines on it and whatnot. So we got it up here on the lift, we pulled the drums off. This side didn't look too bad, except, we found a few leaks. So you guys really need to pay attention to the brake lines, the brake hoses, the wheel cylinders on these cars. If you're having to pump the brakes up and top off fluid, then that could be a telltale sign. The master cylinder was full on this car, but what I found out from the customer is that he continuously tops it off. So I didn't really think there's anything wrong with the brakes just because of seeing the master cylinder full. So I wasn't expecting the leaks that we found. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do here is disconnect this little cotter key from the wheel cylinder. There's that. And then these are very similar to any American car. Just quarter turn and they pop off. Pull the pins out the back here. So now these shoes should come out of here. There's a big spring right down here, and there's another one that goes from here to here across the back. So both of these are hooked in the back side. A lot of times you can take them out together and then take the springs off, like so. Get this bottom spring out, top spring out, and there you go. So the springs are hooked in. This one goes in from the back side, this one goes in from the front side. So what I like to do when I do drum brakes, especially ones that I don't do all the time, you can see the lining's completely gone off of that, is I leave one side together so I could always go back to the other side to look exactly at what holes that these springs are in. So I always do one side at a time on drums, especially on vehicles that I don't work on that often. All right, so this is your brake adjuster down here. We're gonna clean that up good. Back here, we gotta disconnect the emergency brake from this lever right here. I believe has to come out. Let me see here. Maybe not. There's usually a clip that holds these on. So an American car, usually they're bolted on. On these cars, there's just like a little horseshoe on the back side that holds these on. So what we got to do first is we got to get the hard brake line off of here, and probably disconnect this to be able to get this out of it. All right, so we got to get that pin out, which I got the cotter key out, that came out of there. And then that should come off of here. Okay, so that's just laying back. That's your emergency brake. And then what you got is this lever. And if you pull back on this and push that way, you should be able to get that lever out through here. And that's gonna give you enough room to get the horseshoe, and it's hard to get in there, but there's a horseshoe clip right here. You gotta slide that this way, and then that'll come out. So I got the brake line broke loose, so I just gotta take the hard line off of the wheel cylinder. This one is a little bit boogered up from somebody that has replaced this in the past. Most likely didn't have the proper tool. You really need a line wrench for that to keep from rounding them off. But I was able to get it on there and loose. And once you get that hard line off of there, you should be able to pull the wheel cylinder out of here. So now that I got this off, that slid that way, this horseshoe, you might have to get this all the way out of here to get room for that horseshoe. So there's your e-brake lever. And now this horseshoe should come all the way off. And I just got it. There's your horseshoe, okay? And then your wheel cylinder will come right out of there. There's your wheel cylinder. And this one, I already took the clip off, but this one has been leaking all the fluid out inside of here, okay? So the other thing, this brake hose, I don't know if you can see that, but see how squishy it is? Look at the coating on that. It is completely garbage. It's actually taking brake fluid, will take paint off. It's taking the paint off of that shock. That's how bad this thing has been leaking, and it's completely deteriorated. So I'm probably gonna put a little bit of heat on that nut right here to get, especially since we're putting new ones of these on, I don't wanna twist these lines up. If you break that nut loose and you twist that line, you'll kink it, and then you're replacing hard lines. So I've soaked these overnight with some penetrating oil, and then I'm going to probably take a small torch and just heat these things up just enough to get that corrosion and the paint that's on there off, and then we'll try to break them loose. We're gonna change these hard, or the soft lines out, and then we'll only change the hard lines if they're broken. But we're gonna go ahead, we'll get this thing cleaned up. We'll start going back together with new parts. So this is the nut back here. I'm worried about getting broke loose because it hasn't been off probably since the car was new. So I'm just gonna take my Burns-O-Matic. I'm gonna heat that nut up, especially since we're replacing this line. And I hope we can get it broke loose without twisting the line up. I do not want to replace brake lines on this car. Dude, that's enough. You're definitely going to want to have some line wrenches for this. If you don't have any, you need to go invest in some. And then I can hold this, the soft line, and it looks like I just got it. So that's good news. I knew I was able to get the last one off the same way, so we're gonna be all right on this one. So we're gonna get this hose changed out. I got the other parts in the sonic cleaner, getting them cleaned up, and we'll be able to go back together on this. There we go, line's off. See it back there. Now on these British cars, this is just double nutted right here. So you got to take that nut off of here to get the line through the bracket. On most American cars, there'll be like a horseshoe clip where that goes. This one just has a nut. So get some brake parts cleaner here. And we're gonna soak all this to get all that grease and brake lining off. Oh, it's gonna take some scrubbing and cleaning. I did get this line broke off. This is the one that goes from the wheel cylinder. So this top piece, it sits on the back side of there, just like that. The soft line goes into this side with the nut, and then the wheel cylinder on the other side. But this is the nut I was talking about. If it sticks, you'll twist this line up, and when you do, you'll end up kinking this line and breaking it. So you want to be careful with those, or you'll be making new lines. This one's in good shape. There is a little bit of a burr on here. I'm just going to take a file and try to clean that hex up a little bit so that the wrench fits it a little bit better, and we'll scrub these down and reuse them. right, so let me show you how these wheel cylinder retainers work. I got my brand new wheel cylinder here. So that'll go in there just like this way. And then you have a flat, kind of a sort of flat piece with holes, and then you have one with dimples. So this one will go in from this direction, and then this one goes in with the curved side up, like out, like that, to where these dimples are down, and those dimples will go in and lock in. So these dimples kind of go in and they lock into that one. So it ends up being in there like this. All right, so that's how those go. New wheel cylinder. Remember, the clip goes in from this direction. Okay, and then got bracket cleaned up. I was wrong, it goes this way. Cross pin goes in there. There we go. So the cross pin sits there. Now, this should be able to move back and forth because that's how your parking brake works. And now the hard line can go back on, which I got it cleaned up. So it wraps around here. These British lines are not something you're going to be able to go to the auto parts store and get. So make sure that you're super careful when working with them, not to mess them up. Get yourself some line wrenches, use them so you don't round them off. If you got to heat them up a little bit, you're replacing the parts anyways. Just be careful you don't burn anything, and you're good to go. So there's that one. I'm a big fan of replacing all these cotter keys. Don't really come with them, but I have just a set of cotter keys to keep in stock. You want to keep place them whenever you can. All right, so onto the brake shoe linings. I think I'm gonna get it here. Got it. Okay. So now let's get the top ones in.
Oh no, up off.
Alright, I got this side hooked. I'm gonna try to pry this up. I dropped the dang spring into my oil drain tank. That wasn't smart. There's that one. There's that one. All right, now we just gotta get this bottom. And we got it. All right, so get these centered up where they go. And then you put their clips in from the back. All right, finally. Did some fighting with that thing. So then we can put our pins and springs back in. Just go right through here. There's your clip. There's quarter turns on there. All right, so I was able to hook the springs on and get one shoe on and then the other shoe on. This is the adjuster down here. Adjust the brakes out. There's a screw on the back side that you can adjust them. You're gonna wanna make sure that this is clean and free. I cleaned this one up. When I had it out, I pushed the little pistons out, cleaned them up good, put them all back in there, made sure they're free. We got these clips on to hold everything together. We just got to put a new cotter key and an emergency brake, and then we're going to put the drum on, and we're going to go ahead and adjust the pads out, the shoes out, so they just drag the drum just slightly, and then we'll move on to the other side. So as you can see, having a hard time getting the drum on. That's because this is adjusted out too far. We're gonna have to back this screw out back here. That'll bring the drums in, the shoes in tighter, so we can get the drum on.
These don't have to be too tight.
So right now, the shoes are dragging just slightly. It's probably fine for brand new brakes. They'll wear in a little bit, but if yours are dragging heavier, you can come in here, just take a little wrench, it's a little, back off that adjuster just a little bit more, and it should be pretty free. So you want them up to the drum, but you don't want them dragging so heavy that you got a ton of pressure on it. So that's going to be about right. You can always go through and adjust them after you bleed the brakes. All right, guys, so I took this brake hose off of the other side to get the strain relief or the protector off of it. Just a plastic deal. It's easier to cut with the scissors, but I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. You got multiple layers that are just deteriorating off of these brake lines. The brake fluid's been seeping through the inner hose, causing these brakes to get air in them, causing them not to return back fluid to the master cylinder. They kind of get collapsed, and they're just mush. So this is very dangerous. If you got one of these cars, you need to be looking at your brake lines. This is probably definitely the original brake hose. So, you know, very important thing to upgrade.